Hi, I am Alive, aka Liv, and let's biodesign. I'm a designer, a crafter, and a deep diver into the world of bioplastics. Biodegradable materials can be used for so much more than people think. From fabrics to string to foam blocks, the possibilities with 4 ingredients are endless, and I'm going to prove it. The first project is a fun one. We're gonna make seaweed yarn, which is a great material that requires minimal equipment and ingredients. Let's start with the equipment. This is most of the equipment you'll need, but let's talk about it. First of all, you're going to need a bowl or two, one to measure in and one to make the string in, or you can measure directly into your blender. I like to use an immersion blender, so I usually use a separate bowl along with this. It's just better than a regular blender at breaking down stubborn chunks and better for scaling up the recipe. But a regular blender works great too. So now for measuring your ingredients, you're going to either need a tablespoon, teaspoon, or a kitchen scale. Both options work, and I'll give the measurements for both. And another vital piece of equipment is your squeeze bottle. You have a few different options for the squeeze bottle. One being just a classic one. I got this from, it's a 2-pack at the Dollar Tree. I have so many of these bottles, but if you want a DIY option with some equipment you already have at home, you can try drilling a hole into the lid of a water bottle, just an old one that you've already used, and you can still recycle that after you're done. And another option is an old condiment bottle. Maybe you used up a ketchup bottle recently, or a relish or mustard, and that works perfectly fine too. And a final piece of equipment. You will need a glass jar and your refrigerator to help release air bubbles. I, in the past, just used a pasta jar from making pasta, but if you're impatient like I am, you can use a vacuum chamber, but it can be very tricky, so oopsies, keep that in mind. But when I use a vacuum chamber, I just measure directly into the chamber. And that's all of your equipment. Let's talk about ingredients. First of all, most of the recipe is made with water. It's recommended to use filtered water to help prevent mold from growing in the early stages of drying. But it's very important to mention that water should be the first thing you measure, because it'll give you a good idea of how much yarn substrate you're going to be making. That's the easiest part to scale up first, in my opinion. And yeah, if you use any dye, you're going to want to dye the water before making the string, but I'm going to do a separate video about coloring the yarn. Just know that a few options that exist are natural dyes or food dye and mica powder. Those are a few that I use. Okay, now the next ingredient is going to be glycerin. If you've never heard of glycerin before, it is a skin moisturizer, and it is the plasticizer in this recipe. Glycerin acts to make the yarn more flexible. If you use too much of it, the yarn will be kind of sticky to the touch, but it does feel nice and moisturizing at the same time. Using too little, though, can make the string stronger and stiffer, but if you use none, it might leave the string breakable, like snappable, rather than flexible. So keep that in mind with this ingredient, and this is probably the most fun one to play around with to get different textures for your yarn. And sodium alginate is the polymer of this recipe and the powdered seaweed. A polymer means that It is the thing that forms the bioplastic. It's the thickening, hardening agent that makes it feel plastic-like. And it has a partner, calcium chloride. Calcium chloride is a salt, and when sodium alginate reacts with a salt, it starts the cross-linking process instantly, forming a plastic layer on the substrate. This reaction lasts for 7 days between sodium alginate and calcium chloride in an endothermic reaction, meaning that the string will feel cold to the touch. And that is all of the ingredients. So let's move on to making some string. Okay, so what's the plan? Because I'm not just going to make the string to make it, I'm going to turn it into something. So I thought I would try and make a lamp. I'm going to use my base recipe, which is available in the description, in the form of a very cool zine, if I might say so myself. I'm going to crochet a simple diffuser using a completely clear yarn, and then I'm going to make another transparent yarn, maybe in a different color, not clear, but as a lamp. And I'm going to weave this lamp, which will be my first time weaving. I'm sort of nervous. All right, now you know about your materials and your equipment. Let's get to making. All right, this definitely tells you how many bio recipes I do, because this 32-ounce bottle of glycerin is empty. And now I have to move on to my gallon. But it's worth it to buy in bulk if you're making a lot of recipes like I am. However, this lasts a long time and goes a very long way. All right, let's get to mixing. I'm gonna start first with measuring my sodium alginate and glycerin. They can go directly into the blender or mixing bowl that you are using. I've also measured off my water here on the side. I'm going to be using 1 cup today. This is my handy dandy tablespoon teaspoon, but you can also just use a regular one. I just like the fact that this one is like connected. It feels so cool. Oh man, this is going to take me back to my barista days, pouring gallons of liquids. Good thing I've been working out my arms. So I'm gonna measure glycerin first, 6 tablespoons into here directly. This is where I'll be mixing my mixture. It's best to start off with glycerin and sodium alginate. It's so heavy, guys. Oh, one more. Oh, okay. And I like to just scrape it out of there so I can get every last drop. I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of did a little bit of heaping tablespoons. That was just because it was hard to pour. But also, precision doesn't matter too much with this. A little extra won't hurt your recipe. And glycerin is the best ingredient to play around with because it can change the flexibility of the yarn, and I never mind it feeling a little bit more soft. So I do like a little extra glycerin. Now I can measure the sodium alginate. For this, I am adding 3 teaspoons. And for this, I truly want level teaspoons because measurements actually do matter for this one. And then I like to kind of tap it around so it's not all clumped up into one spot. I don't know if that makes a big difference, but in my head, it really does. said, I already measured my water off on the side here. Don't just pour it all in, okay? Start with about a third of whatever amount of water you're going to do. I have 1 cup, which is my base recipe, and I just poured in between a third and a half of this amount of water into the bowl. And I personally am a big fan of immersion blender for this because it takes a lot less cleaning for me and it's better at breaking down chunks. But like I said, regular blender works just the same. And yeah, this is also better for larger batches, which is something I'm often doing. But for this today, I'm doing a little prototype. So I really don't need that much material. It's very rare that I make a clear yarn. So I just wanted to do it with my recipe today. Oh, there's a little piece of dog hair in here. I'm gonna get it out first. Okay. Now time to mix it up. So this is the consistency of it so far. It's a little thick for what we want overall. So now I'll add the rest of my water just right in. You do want to blend it extra thoroughly. And yeah, this is about the consistency we want. It's like an extra thick syrup. You can see it like groups together as it's dripping off of the blender, and that's a good sign for its consistency. All right, I'm gonna grab my camera and show you guys what it's looking like in here, because you'll be able to see that there's a bunch of trapped air bubbles in the yarn, which is what's making it look opaque instead of clear and transparent. One solution to clear it up that most people can do at home without buying any new equipment is using a glass jar and your refrigerator. Just letting time handle the air bubbles. If you leave it in your fridge overnight, it will clear up significantly. And fun fact about this is that it is like a food where it can spoil, but you can store it in your fridge for up to a week if you aren't ready to work with it right away, which I've definitely done before, and it didn't affect the consistency of the yarn, and it was the exact same substrate. So yeah, let me show you guys what this looks like. Okay, this really gives you an idea. You can see all of those air bubbles. Those are going to interrupt the yarn and cause more breakage as you're extruding it into the bath, which can be really annoying because the whole appeal of crochet and knit is that you don't want to add as many knots as you can. Having one consistent string is usually the goal. You can see here the vacuum chamber is doing its work, making the substrate expand, all those air bubbles blowing up bigger and rising up out of the liquid to make it as clear as possible. And if you don't have a vacuum chamber, you can easily just use your fridge instead. It's really no problem. Just leave it overnight is what I recommend. Right, so the only thing I did not film was the making the magic bath. I have 3 cups of water here in this little bath. This is just the one I really like to use from the Dollar Tree. I love the Dollar Tree. But this is my calcium chloride. Maybe now you can see the little beads in there, kind of like little pellets. Okay, I'm just gonna make this in my lap. It's very simple, guys. Take your pre-measured stuff. This is 3 teaspoons or whatever it's supposed to be. I kind of forgot what I measured, but it's in my guide. Yeah, you just pour it in. You can see it all there at the bottom. And then just start stirring until all of it is dissolved. It's just gonna take like a minute or two. Once again, I was too lazy to get up, hence why I'm using a hair stick. I don't know if you can tell a difference, but it is much clearer now. There's no more little beads of calcium chloride. That only took a minute. And now this is ready for you to make your algae yarn straight into. Okay, we have all of our core ingredients to make algae yarn. This is the algae paste. You can see I got all those bubbles out pretty much. There's ones near the surface, but that is good enough for me to make a clear yarn. For anyone wondering, it does smell like seaweed. It's like salty, which I was not expecting. I guess I've never sniffed the clear one before. I usually sniff it and just assume I smell the dye, especially when I use something like turmeric. But the goal is to transfer this into this. I'm just gonna kind of pour it in, but I will show that. Okay, this feels a little like a crop shot, but it's the best angle I have to show this. So just gonna carefully pour, use all of my barista experience to do this smoothly. I could use a spatula, but I kind of just get in there, guys. Okay, one goopy hand later, and the bottle is filled. A few more air bubbles than I would want, not gonna lie. I think I might let this sit in my fridge for a little while, see if the air bubbles release. I also really need to wash this hand. I lied. I'm not gonna refrigerate it. The air bubbles, I've just decided to be fine with it. I'd rather get this into the bowl than have issues with time, because my brother just came into town and I want to have a nice family dinner tonight, and I was hoping to get this done today. So that being said, I just got my hands dirty again. I have my calcium chloride bath here in my Dollar Tree bowl. You can see I don't even fill it up that much because I don't want to use like that much calcium chloride. This is the first time, yeah, I think this is the first time I'm making this recipe without sunflower oil, so fingers crossed it actually sinks like other people's yarn sinks. We are ready. It shouldn't come out until I'm squeezing, which is right now. Go, 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 go. Oh my god, it's sinking. I see it at the bottom. Yes. Okay, that kind of made a stopping point for me. let's, oh, it's all at the bottom. Oh, I'm so excited. What I like to do is I can kind of see the center here. I don't think you guys can see this at all, but I'm gonna put my thumb in the center and then just try and get my nails and my hand underneath all of the strings so I can pick it up. It's one bunch like this, and it's clear noodles. Oh my gosh. If I want to start crocheting with this right away, I'm gonna want to leave it in the bath for at least a half hour. If I want to use this later on, I'm fine to take it out now and leave it out to dry. I have a few different methods of drying and I will show those to you guys. Oh my gosh. This is like magic yarn. I mean, like, look at this. Just grabbing invisible yarn out of the water. Maybe I should title this making water yarn or something, or invisible yarn, because this looks insane. Ugh, it captures so well on camera. I have like 3 lights going on, so that does help. But dang, that's nice. This maybe isn't what I would typically do, but what I'm going to do until I'm ready to put this to dry is I'm gonna just stick it in this bowl on the side, and I'll start to have a bowl of clear noodles. Now we can take the noodles out of the bath and leave them out to dry. The way I like to do it is to coil it up on a plate, because then I can drain the excess water that'll happen on the first day. It'll be like sitting in a puddle, and that's because the water is actively being expelled out of the string until it gets to a shelf-stable state, but that's going to take 7 days. So keep your eye on it and make sure it's not staying wet and actually getting dry. This is something I found, but then while I'm squeezing, some strands will turn out a bit thin and short. And as compared to this string, I don't know if you can tell, but it is just thinner. It's probably about a gauge 4 or 5 instead of a gauge 7, 8. So I like to use these if I'm doing a circular pattern to start off, because it's just a lot easier to do your magic ring with something a little thinner. I did it. It's done. A little crochet dome. Let's see here. Let me steal one of my lights. It looks pretty good. I lost it. Oh! This is all I wanted to see. How the light goes through it. I think that looks pretty good, and I could probably do this at a larger scale. Man, it really does not want to stay on here. This light is also like super hot. It's making it steam. You probably cannot see that, but ooh, what do we like? Yeah. Completely clear yarn crocheted into a little dome. So I don't actually have the clear one that I was showing making anymore. What I have instead is that I had been soaking some leaves in a mixture of glycerin and water, and all of the leaf dye went into the glycerin and water, and so I thought instead of throwing it out, I would turn it into yarn. Let's speedrun making the string. I'm just going to keep filling my bottle, squeezing it into the bath, and setting it aside multiple times. I did this about 3 or 4 times until I made a huge tray of string, all ready for the lamp. Feels like brains, like intestines. I don't even know if I can grab all this at once. Hello, here is my child, my baby. I'll just rock it to bed. Okay, I have a little actually, yeah, I have a little tray over here. I'm gonna set it on there. Oh my gosh. That was like a throw. Oh, look at all this that we have so far. It's like its own little pile of seaweed. Crazy looking. It's the next day. Here are the noodles the next day. I'm not dripping, am I? I don't think I dripped. Still looking amber. Still looking nice. It is light fixture time. Right here in front of me. Off camera, I worked out what I'll be making, which is a little lampshade that's gonna go from a circle to a square, and it's gonna be woven. It's only going to be about this big, this tall. What I've done here with laser cutting is, oh gosh, it's all the way over there. Oh, got it. Oh, I managed to make this fit perfectly in here, so I don't even have to glue it down. The light just stays. And like literally I can't even pull it out now that it's in there. What I have to do is push it out like this because I'm not ready yet for it to be there full time. Ah, hurt my nail. Okay, anyways, so what's going on with this like weird looking piece? What I'm figuring I will do, because I need weave points, and usually you would use like a stiff rod for weave points, so I hope this will work. I'm just going to loosely put these in and have it, well actually it's gonna face this way so that the points are up, and then this will go on top of that. But sandwiched in here, if you can't tell, is room for there to be a knot, and then it'll go from knot to knot. And that's the current plan. And I might leave, what I'm thinking I'll do is I'll leave fringe hanging off of this square, and it'll look cool, and I hope that I have enough to do all of that, and is why I'm working small. That being said, I have to take, before I actually start like experimenting with my nice real yarn, I'm going to measure out probably like 6 pieces of string that are even from this, maybe even 7, so I have a reference one. And then I'm going to get this situated and mounted so that I can start attaching the algae yarn and it'll be equidistant properly. And I can just remove the strings afterwards or as I'm going. Once I get a few algae yarn ones started, it'll be helpful. I just don't want to start with them right away. It's a little iffy at times. So, that being said, I'm gonna time lapse that. It's suspended now. You can see here. This gives me enough that I can start putting the algae yarn in and have it consistent all the way around. I think I need to loosen this side up a tiny bit. I'm looking at it. That looks flat to me. Flat enough. Because now I've got my algae yarn in front of me. I'm going to have to start taking this and feeding it through and then tying a knot here and a knot here. And I think I'll leave like a bit of fringe coming down because I think I have enough string for that, I hope. Okay, this is our bones of our little lampshade here. It's a little wiggly. I did end up leaving a fringe, which I do really like. I'm glad I did that. Okay, now what I'm going to do, which I've never done before technically, but how hard can it be? There we go. Okay, now I can start weaving. Immediately I realized this was going to be harder than I had planned just because it was difficult to get the string through the weave points, and I had to ball it around my hand and started to get worried about when I would get higher up on the lamp because I would have less and less space to weave through. Alright, here is it so far. I have to go to bed now. I'm tired. I've done like 5 or 6 layers on this so far. And I think I will have enough yarn, which is fantastic. It's the next day, so it's dried a little bit. I don't know if you guys can tell the difference, but the string has definitely gotten thinner on here. So, that being said, it's time that I continue weaving. Hopefully I can finish this in a couple of hours. Because I don't really want to spend that long on this. time lapse, no joke, 2.5 hours at least. But I'm almost done. I think I have like half an hour to 1 hour left to do this top part. It's about 1 inch left, but I'm starving. I need to go eat lunch, hence I am taking a break. It's like 12:30 right now, so it's perfect lunchtime. And I'll just leave this sitting here. I can't believe like using the rose stems like this worked out so well. It actually made it very easy to just like keep rotating this and always have space. So that's my progress in 2.5 hours. Okay, I'm putting in the light now. You can see it looks good, even just below, but I'm gonna kind of go in a little sideways. And now I'm at the top, I'm gonna start tilting it and try and make sure I'm not pinching any threads into the top because I barely even have enough room to fit this light. Ooh, okay, it's coming through. Uh-oh. I broke off one. You see that? I'm gonna have to re-feed it through all the way up. Damn it. I hate when I do that. The first time I was able to stop it before it broke, but this time it did break. Let's just take a look though. Oh, that looks so nice. Red, green, blue, pink. Okay, let's fix this. Now all the strands are in place and it's time to glue down the top. And I'm using just this extra strong super glue that takes longer to dry. I think it'll hold it better than typical super glue with the wood on plastic. So yeah, I'm just putting glue everywhere. Okay. Update. I have it clamped down. I think it should be dry enough to remove the clamps. I really hope so because I want to paint it. I probably should have done that before all of this, but I'm a little bit of a late thinker. Anyways, these are just clamps from Bic. They were really cheap, so you can also get clamps from Dollar Tree if you need some cheap clamps. Perfect. Seems glued to me. The light's in there, looking good. Yeah, I think paint it, and then I still have yarn left. So I'm thinking I'll try and wrap it around the edges a little bit and then add a few more like kind of like jelly. I think I'm gonna call this like a jellyfish lamp. It's kind of feeling like it. So just coming down. If you ever have fake wood that you want to paint, my best advice is to use a bit of acrylic paint mixed with water. It makes it act like watercolor. It'll seep right into the wood and you'll still be able to see the grain of the wood, which is a really nice effect. It acts like a stain, but a really inexpensive stain. I keep dropping my paintbrush. For this, I cannot find my brown paint, so I'll mix a bit of orange. Should be enough. With a little bit of black. I don't know if it'll work. Oh gosh, I got black paint on my hand. I don't know what to do with this. Guys, help. No wasting paint. Just dab that in. That's probably too much. Oh gosh. Okay. That's how much paint I have. I made a mess of my hands. I'm gonna go wash them and also put a little bit of water in this. Okay, paintbrush. I like to give, there's no water in this yet. I like to give it a little mixy mix first before adding the water. That is quite dark. I will add more orange to this. Stir this in. This is pretty good. Even more orange. Just a bit more. Totally just a little bit more. Definitely not the biggest squeeze I did. This is what I want. It's kind of caramely now. So if I did this directly on the wood, it would completely cover up the wood grain, but I'm going to mix this with some water. You don't even need very much. Mix it around and it'll make it like a gouache or a watercolor. And it should just seep right into the wood. Make sure you mix it a little thoroughly because some like paint clumps will still be in there sometimes and that can be kind of annoying. It doesn't take long, just like an extra little minute. When you think it's done, maybe just a little bit more, just to make sure it's extra thin. Look at that. That made the wood grain even more prominent on this, and it just matches the yarn a lot better than this light wood does. So that being said, now I just need to carefully paint the bottom layer and try not to get too much of it on my algae yarn, but it won't really matter since I'm planning to wrap it around the bottom anyways. So just to recap, we took this yarn, which was water, glycerin, sodium alginate, and calcium chloride, and we have now made it. Where is it? I hide things from myself. We have now made it into a lamp, and it just pushes on. It's breaking. That's the honest truth. I finished this about 1 or 2 weeks ago, and you can see, maybe you can't see, the strands are breaking on it. Hold on, I'm gonna switch video modes. And, okay, so now you can see better. These strands are breaking on it. I made a crucial mistake. And that's okay. And that's what this page will be about, is learning. So if you guys stick around, you'll see more alginate content. But what I should have done is make this when the string was fully dry. What I also should have done is use less glycerin in the strands that I used as the rods for the weaving. It wound up being too weak and stretching down over time because of the weight of the whole weave. And yeah, that's what I learned, and that's what I do differently next time. There might be a next time. I'm definitely going to salvage the yarn from this, but that'll be a separate video making something with this. I'm not really sure what.